Hi, I'm Joe Milord, in for Nina Melendez, and welcome to LinkedIn News Live, a show about the world of work and our place in it. Athletes have a demanding job. Their careers can be lucrative but short lived. For example, the average NFL career spans just over 3 years. So, for many athletes, finding their next play is a process that begins while they're still productive on the field. And as we approach this upcoming Sunday Super Bowl, LinkedIn News will be highlighting the stories of athletes who have incredible careers off the field. Joining me now as one of the first of those players is Brandon Copeland. Brandon's been an NFL player for close to a decade now. And off the field, he's a university professor at his alma mater, the University of Pennsylvania. He's also the host of the finance-focused podcast, Music, Money, and Culture, Joining us now, Brandon Copeland. Thanks for joining us.
Joe, thanks for having me, man. How you doing?
Doing great. So we know with a lot of the things that you're doing off the field, it all revolves around teaching people about their finances. I'm curious, how'd you get the passion for that?
Yeah, really, to be honest with you, I grew up never ever imagined me being a teacher. I was pretty good in school and did well, but I never would have imagined in a million years being a teacher. However, when I came into the NFL, I realized that there was a huge disconnect between the information that I was being offered just as an NFL player versus what I was being offered the year prior or what my mom was being offered when she was growing up or even to this day. So for me, the goal was basically to democratize the access to information and just even the playing field for everybody. And one of the ways that I found that one of the tools I use to do that is by teaching and through education. I don't think it's necessarily important. The only reason why I decided to be a teacher and actually play that professor role is because I wanted the delivery of the material to be more of a conversation rather than a strict, stringent class, because I think that talking about money is not something that lends itself to that rigid structure, because all of our situations are different. All of our situations are different. All of our money and risk tolerance, all of our relationships with money and our risk tolerances are different as well.
So you're talking about the different ways in which you have to bring about these conversations. What characteristics about the classes that you've been teaching at UPenn acknowledges that fact? How does that affect the material?
Yeah. So everything is a conversation. We practice everything. And I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't understand about our classes, it's also a big self-esteem class. It's also a big how you sell yourself. I personally believe that I'm where I am partly because my parents and grandparents taught me charisma. We didn't sit down and practice it, but literally simple things like please and thank you. How are you doing today? Things like that just leave or etch a memory in people's minds. So one of the things that we try to focus our work on is not only the life lessons, the life skills. How do you buy a house? What does a closing disclosure look like? What are the different types of insurances? Right? What's a 401k? We focus on those things, but we also focus on, hey, you want a raise, you need a raise. Let's go practice having that conversation with your boss today. Right? So we're trying to put our students in real life situations, which is why we kind of dubbed the term, the name Life 101. But we try to let them practice the constant decisions that they will have to make in their life.
And I've seen you talk about how much some of the material that you're teaching, you wish it actually came earlier to you, or you think that it should come earlier to students. How late was it before you started to learn some of these things? How to handle a 401k, how to handle different conversations about investments? How late did it come to you?
Yeah, I mean, all of these decisions came to me when I was actually faced with having to make those decisions, right? So what I mean by that is the first time I understood a closing disclosure, and I won't even say I understood it. The first time I realized my lack of understanding in a closing disclosure was the first time I bought a home in 2017. I remember my wife calling me and saying, hey, does everything look right in this 48-page document? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen this thing before in my life. You got to trust the realtor and everyone at the closing table who's incentivized to push the deal through will flag anything for you. And I'm sure, our realtor did an amazing job with it. But But ultimately, I just felt like there was something wrong with that. My 401k, the first time I learned that you can invest in first time I learned what a 401k was, and then also that you can invest in you can change up your investment allocation in your 401k was after not only investing in it, but then changing up the allocations happened maybe a year or two after I started doing some more digging. But again, I think that there's just, it's not that it was too late, but especially a big decision like buying a home, I think it is too late to be learning about that at the closing table. I think that we know the answers to the test, meaning we know that there's certain things that we will all want to do one day, buying a car, buying a house, or renting a home, right? Like, why are we not preparing for those decisions early? Because again, we prepare for the tangent of a 45-degree angle. We prepare for X plus 3Y equals 76. But, no offense, I'm sure there's somebody using it today. Me personally, it hasn't helped me since I graduated.
Me neither. No. So I'll get back to a basic question. When people look at your history over the past couple of years and see that you've taught on campus, they'll ask a simple question. How is someone that's an NFL player also a university professor? There has to be some challenges in balancing both.
Yeah. Houseway, right? So I have a twin brother that no one knows about, and pretty much what we do is we just kind of switch lot now. That would actually be awesome. That's probably one of my dreams. But no, so I mean, I just, for me personally, I am a huge believer in dying empty. And, I remember coming into the NFL, my first few years, it was like, I have all these ideas, these great ideas, and I just want to wait till the time is right. And then I'll work on them all and I'll own them all and they'll all be mine and big master plan. But then I realized, man, if I keep messing around, I'm gonna be dead and half these ideas still gonna be in my brain, So for me, I've just been fortunate to be able to share it with people who take a liking to the ideas and want to support the ideas and want to work with me on helping achieve them. So every off season we do the class. This is our 4th year doing it. Like tonight, I'll be teaching our 4th lecture this year. And it's just something that you make time for. To be honest with you, now that the world has gone hybrid and virtual, it makes my life a lot easier. I used to have to fly back and forth to Philly just for class and stuff. So, it definitely, there are challenges, but ultimately, as I say, when you want to do something, you'll find a way to do it. So yeah, we make it happen.
And I want to take a moment here to say hello to some of our viewers who are watching from around the world. There's Anna Zita in Romania, Leonard from Albania, and Francis from Ghana. I have to actually go back to something that you were just talking about right there, flying back and forth for the classes. How was that schedule? Was it literally like after the Monday night or after a lecture, going straight to the airport and you got to go home and then doing all that the next week?
Yeah. So, I remember the first year we taught the class, I didn't go more than 3 days in about a 3-month stretch without taking a flight somewhere. It was rigorous. But it was the first year, obviously wanted to knock it out the park and all that stuff, wanted to be there in person for the students. I still want to do that now, but obviously the world is a little different than it was then. But yeah, I mean, for me in the off season, you have a ebbs and flow of a schedule, meaning that, the beginning of the off season, you kind of take some time, let your body decompress from what the season was. So you're kind of at home and it's easier for me to kind of get to the office. However, as you start ramping up and get closer to real football, spring ball, OTAs, all of those types of things, right? When you got to report back to the team facility, I needed to make sure I was training and taking care of my primary income, right? Keep the main thing. So I typically train down in Fort Lauderdale. And so our class would be, I think it was at that year, it was like 4:30 to 7:30. And I remember my flight left Philly airport at like 8:45 every time after class. So I got TSA pre-check. I sat there, I just had everything timed up, and I would, literally as soon as class was over, I'd have a lift right outside and I'd be on my way to the airport and get through. And it just worked like clockwork for those last few weeks in the semester.
And you're one of the players, I'll say athletes, actually, even, outside of the NFL, that's known most for appearing on CNBC, being a voice. And listen, it's true. People see you on these shows and they see you as this voice that, oh, he's one of the ones that could really teach us something about money, among the players, and there's other people like Justin Tuck, Wale Ogunleye. I'm wondering, does this affect the types of conversations that you're having in the locker room, even around the team facility? Like, our players come to you saying, like, "Yo, you know, you got any tips for what I should do next?"
Yes, 100%. Yeah, the conversations, I think at this point, you know, obviously there's typical conversation, right? Typical, you know, I'm just a individual like everyone else in the locker room, but there are a lot of guys who come and ask, not even just on the team, around the league, come and ask for advice, ask to share deal flow, ask for tips, ask for things that or experiences that I've learned from that I can share with them, and guidance. And I think that that's, you know, again, when I started out on this mission, it was to democratize the access to information. I wish, you know, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of great players, a lot of great veterans. And I wish that when I was younger, there was an opportunity for me to talk about some of the things they were doing off the field as openly as I'm doing with younger players now. And so I think that that's just something that I'm all about. I'm an open book, you know, to a certain extent. I think guys understand that. So I literally get questions now in games, which has been from opponents, which has been something that is definitely different. But, you know, all good stuff, all positive stuff.
This is actually something that comes up in all of our interviews with athletes when we start talking about what's changed now versus in the past when it comes to players talking to each other about what they're doing off the field. Have you noticed that much of a difference, let's say, from when you came into the league earlier on in the past decade? It sounds crazy to say that. and now, do you see a difference between the conversations, how well attuned people are to these subjects?
Yeah, 100%. I think now people are just, and let me take a step back. Obviously, I'm only privy to my own experiences in the locker rooms that I've been in, but from start to now where we are today, right? Like, I think that people are more open and comfortable having conversations about the things that they're doing off the field. When I came into the NFL, and, you know, again, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, in terms of, you know, a timeline perspective in comparison to when my grandfather played in the 60s and 70s. But, you know, still there was a little bit of a taboo around talking about things that you were interested in off the field outside of football, right? And so I think that now, as time has moved on, and now financial education, financial literacy is a hot topic, right? Politics, hot topic. A lot of subjects that used to be taboo, we all can talk about freely. And sometimes if you're not talking about it, people are kind of like, well, what are you up to? You know, why don't you pick a stance, choose a side? So I think that those types of things and the way society has been moving has made it easier for guys to actually have open and honest conversations about the things that they're interested in and actively pursuing off the field. And then I think that what you find from that is that hopefully that allows players to do what the NFL is there for, right? It's there for you to live your dream. It's there for fans to enjoy what we do. But it's also there for you to use as a springboard to begin your life and beyond. And I think that, you know, in the past, unfortunately, for some, not everybody, because as much as the documentaries and stuff make you want to think that everybody's broke afterwards, right? Unfortunately, for some, the NFL used to not be that trampoline or that springboard. It was just a few good years of just living the dream, and then it just tailed off because you weren't able to manage your money properly.
And since you're doing so many things, you have so many projects and endeavors off the field, are you, let's say, does it lessen any amount of nervousness that you could have about your transition? Are you someone who just doesn't have worries, any particular worries about what you're going to do next?
Yeah, great question, Joe. Great question. Great question, Joe. No, I think that, you know, something I think about all the time. I think as athletes will still have, you know, they talk about, for those of you who may be familiar with this, the 2 deaths of an athlete, right? You die when you actually die, right? Like everyone else, but then you also die when you are done playing your sport. And I think that that's something that you'll never get back, right? I'll always be a bigger dude. So people will always ask me, hey, you play football? That'll hurt when I'm not playing football, to not be able to say, yeah, I play, you know? So those types of mental hurdles and things like that, as an NFL player, you get to skip the line, right? There's a lot of things that I get access to that I wouldn't get access to if I wasn't an NFL player, right? And so I think that from that standpoint, my transition will still be a transition like anyone else's, right? It'll be the first time since fourth grade I'm not a football player. I don't wear that tag. I'm 30 years old now, right? So that's a long time to go without that piece of my identity. However, my goal has always been from a money standpoint. Rick Ross says a boss is one who guarantees we're going to eat, right? Like, we're going to eat regardless. And that has always been my goal. Football has been a means to an end, but it's still, not being able to wake up on Sundays and yell and listen to music and bob my head and have 70,000 people show up to watch us play. You're still going to miss that feeling a bit.
All right, so let's actually get to lyrics, because you just brought me to my next question. You have the Money Music Culture podcast where you use lyrics to teach people financial lessons. What is the lyric that you love the most that you featured on the podcast?
Whoa. Wow, that's a great question. Well, one, I appreciate you highlighting it. It's one of the projects that I'm most proud of and most excited about. So hopefully everybody, if you haven't already, go check out Money Music Culture on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, wherever you like to listen to your podcast, or visually check them out. But we did one a couple weeks ago on the Jay-Z lyric, from Diamonds from Sierra Leone, him and Kanye. And it's just, I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man, right? And I think that that's a blanket umbrella lyric right there that we all can really connect with, because I think when I came into the NFL as a rookie, we had a bunch of rookie programs and seminars, and one of the first things they made sure we all understood is like, hey, you are a Fortune 500 company, so you have to act like it, right? What team is around you? What's your social media presence? What's your brand, right? Who's handling your taxes and accounting, right? And I think that that's something that we get as athletes preached to us on a monthly basis at least, right? But for most individuals, no one's ever given me that lesson outside of the locker room. And I want everyone to think of themselves as that, because ultimately the way your lights stay on is by you being that Fortune 500 company and going out and creating value and creating money and then keeping the lights on, right? But your team is extremely important, and not just your financial team, but the people around you. Are you surrounding yourself with negativity? Are you surrounding yourself with people who are building you up? Are you surrounding yourself with people who are going to push you further, right? And so I think that that's one of the lyrics that I choose to live by, is like, I'm a business. And when you start thinking of yourself as such, then it makes it elevates your game to make sure that you're not wasting time with things that aren't for you or aren't pushing your business forward. And I know I don't want to sound extremely transactional, because it's not that. However, I think that us as individuals and us as people, we kind of sometimes we allow ourselves to hold on to things for too long, right? And as opposed to cutting ties and moving forward to keep your business growing forward. So whether that's family, whether that's people, whether that's business relationships, I just think it's something important to just keep in mind. You're not a business man or woman, you're a business, and think of yourself as such.
And let's get to another saying I've heard you say in the past, that you want to think of your money as your employee. Is it the same, some of the same kind of concepts that you were just talking about right now?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I think that when we talk about money, we're all in school and we're all in society working for money. I mean, it's does money buy happiness? We can all go back and forth on that. I don't think it buys happiness, but some of the things that make me happy, I need money to buy, right? However, if you have that goal of actually just living life, if you have that goal of retiring, if you have that goal of being here to do more than just punching the clock, then I think you have to at some point put your money to work for you. So that's the way I've always thought about my money since I entered the league. I just need every dollar to go back and bring me 25 cents. And then once I get that $1.25 back, I need you all to go out and give me another 25 cents, right? And so that's the only way personally that I've seen through my studies and research that you can avoid being the hamster on the hamster wheel, where you're working your entire life to try to get this nest egg. But if you're not putting that nest egg to work so that you can comfortably retire, then you get to the point where you're nervous that, hey, I'm always pulling out of here and this nest egg is getting smaller and smaller. And now I'm nervous that I might outlive this nest egg, right? And so those are the things that I just need our money working for us, because that's the key to growth.
Mm. Brandon, thanks you for joining us today. I'm going to have to talk to my financial advisor after this. But again, thank you for your time today.
I appreciate you, Joe. You take care, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course. That's Brandon Copeland, NFL player, UPenn professor, and host of the Money, Music, Culture podcast. And thank you to you guys for joining in the stream. You can continue the conversation here or to the right of your feed. Or if you're on mobile, click into the search box. On Thursday, we'll have a special live stream from Los Angeles, the site of the Super Bowl. We'll be talking to Jen Welter, the NFL's first female coach. Again, join us on Thursday. That will be at 4:30 Eastern. And thanks again for watching today. I'm Joe Milord. This is LinkedIn News Live.